Welcome to A Change is a Chance. This is our very first episode. My name is Ryan Lowe, and I am a sixth grader at the Saklan school in Moraga, California. 3 years ago, I saw an image of a dead turtle getting choked by plastic nets. I started researching the overuse of plastic and its many negative impacts, which then exposed me to other problems such as global warming, eroding ecosystems, corporate greed, and discriminations. I started this podcast because I want to find solutions to the problem in this world. And sometimes all it starts with is change. If you see my podcast cover art, you'll see pollution, turtles wrapped in plastic, and a sad, lonely rhino. But you'll also see the sunlight peeking out. That's the hope. And when there is a change, there is a chance. Some of the problems we will discuss include global warming and climate change, animals facing extinction, plastic pollution, systemic racism, and gender equality. I would like to make a change by educating people, especially young ones, and hopefully encourage them to make a change too. In my podcast, you'll hear me interviewing experts so we can all learn from them the state of the problems and the suggestions on how we can put on thoughts into action. I will be meeting educators, authors, policymakers, activists, and scientists, to name a few. I am very excited and proud to introduce our very first guest, Miss Vickie Obenchain. Miss Obenchain, or as I call her, Miss O, has won several Green and Teaching Awards, the most recent one including being selected as one of the 25 teachers to attend a Nobel Prize Summit, and also a Global Classroom Fellowship winner.
Hi, Ryan. Thanks for having me here.
Okay. She teaches science at my school, and she wants to allow every student to ask questions about the world around them and see the relevance of what they are learning in their life. I am proud to call her my teacher. Miss O is here to talk about the environmental issues we face. So, Miss O, I do have a few questions for you. When did you start feeling passionate about science?
Well, coincidentally, I actually really started liking science when I was in sixth grade. Much like yourself. I had an amazing science teacher who really seemed to care about teaching the world around us and really trying to get us to care about what we were noticing and seeing kind of the effects of humans. And it really made me want to be a better teacher. And it made me kind of want to actually educate other kids in my neighborhood about it, which was kind of my first introduction to education, which was pretty amazing.
Wow, you had a good motivation. So, how about environmental science? When did you feel that this is something you need to pay more attention to?
Well, I think, again, back in sixth grade, but there was also a time where my dad was taking me and my brother to national parks. And going to national parks just made me love adventuring out and seeing all the natural beauties that were out there in the world. And then when I went to college, I think the culminating of my love of science and seeing the world and how beautiful it was, and then learning how humans were affecting it, made me realize how important it was that we needed to save it. And so I really wanted to, and at that point, I really felt my mission in life was to save the world. And I actually even said that to many people. I was like, I think my mission is to save the world. And I wasn't really sure how I was going to do that yet, but that was my plan.
Well, so you wanted to save the world, but how would you describe the state of the Earth today?
You know, I think we were kind of at a tipping point in a few different ways. We definitely have a number of environmental issues to deal with, such as a lot of our pollutants. We have a number of plastic problems that we have to come to terms with. We also have climate change, which is a huge thing that I do believe that as a global community we can deal with, but I think that there's a large number of people that really want change, and I think that is a wonderful place to be. I think when you have people who care and you have people who are looking for solutions, the state of the world looks brighter. And I think that is the one thing I always keep in mind. I like to live by the fact that there's so many problems and can be really daunting, but not everybody can do everything to fix it, but everybody can do one little thing. And I think that's the one thing that's really important, is understanding that we all have a role. And I think there's enough people now that want a role to help the planet that I actually think it's in a good place. At least I hope it is.
You are one of the few people who are so optimistic and set on helping the Earth. How have you been educating others about these problems?
So when I first got out of my undergraduate education, I was an outdoor environmental educator. And so my job was to actually take students hiking, and we would go through different ecosystems and we kind of learn about the environmental issues in those different ecosystems. And so I spent a lot of time doing that. I actually was an outdoor educator for 6 years before I became a classroom teacher. And I really loved that perspective because I felt like I was in the environment getting to teach about it. But I decided to become a classroom teacher to actually help spread knowledge and also educate others, because I really felt like I wanted to be able to teach not just one area of science or one region about the environmental issues, but I wanted to talk on a more global scale. So becoming a teacher allowed me to kind of educate others. Additionally, I write curriculum for summer camps to help spread awareness as well. And then I actually work for National Geographic on their education team, and I help educate other teachers on how they can actually teach about the world and actually spread awareness about environmental issues. And I think, National Geographic has a big push for the plastic issue right now, and so I've been working with them to try to kind of spread that awareness as well.
You're quite the teacher for everyone. What have you personally done to help the environment?
So when I became an environmental science, I would say a major in college, I actually really started looking at what I could do as an individual, because I think that's really important. We can talk about what the world needs to do, but individuals need to be part of that. And so one of the things I really try to push is, using reusable containers. When we talk about recycling, that's super important, and doing it correctly is important. But one thing we really need to do is reduce our use of things. And so trying to use reusable containers, silverware, things like that's really important. I try to drive less. Always kind of thinking about if I'm making one trip or two trips. Additionally, I'm really big into composting. I think Ryan in particular would know. I kind of really tried to push the environmental program at our school, having the different sorting places for their trash. And we were actually able to reduce our program. We actually don't throw away as much as we used to. We actually, I think, have redirected 62% of our trash into either compost or recycling at our school. So I think that's pretty amazing. And also, I try to spread awareness as much as possible, and I try to lead an example for other people, because I think when people see other people doing good, I think it leads other people to also do good.
Wow, I admire you by how much you help this world. Last school year, as you said, we mainly worked on the plastic problem. Can you tell us more about that?
Yes, so I am very passionate about reducing the use of plastics in our daily life, because they really are out there hurting a lot of environments and also just organisms that live in those environments. And it's really important, I think, that we kind of cut back our use of them. And so with the use of National Geographic Geo Challenge, we had our 5th and 6th graders work together to try to come up with a solution to the use of plastic. And so we had a few different solutions came out. The kids kind of looked around school and saw where the problems were. They came up with a few different solutions. One was to encase plastic into cement so that it could be used as building materials. This year we've had one group that wants to use all the non-recyclable plastic from glue containers and make them into compostable ones. We've have one group that's going out to different restaurants and encouraging them to maybe go to paper or maybe lids that don't need the plastic straws. And so really trying to get our community and our school students to actually think about reducing plastic as well, because I think if it starts in our own communities, then it becomes kind of greater known. And so it's something our school is definitely working on. I'm sure other schools are probably looking for it as well as the issue becomes more and more well known. But I think I've been extremely impressed with Saklan's ideas and just their motivation to reduce. And I know you, Ryan, in particular, this is a topic that you are very interested in. You and I both have matching for the ocean bracelets. So I know that definitely means something to both of us. So, and I think a lot of people care about the oceans and the organisms that live there. So, yeah.
By the amount of facts that you've inspired many more people to care. You stated to your class that if we keep this plastic making rate, in 2050, there will be more plastic in the ocean than fish. Can you tell us different ways to become more environmentally friendly?
Yes. So I think the one thing we can do is really look at alternatives to plastic. I think anytime you look at compostable materials, that's going to be a better way to go, especially for items that maybe need to be reused, like cups, maybe silverware, other materials that are used on a daily basis that perhaps are more disposable. I think that's really what we need to be going towards. I also know there's a big push for plant-based plastics, and I think those are somewhat compostable, and I think that's a great way to go too. And I'm seeing a lot of different inventions around trying to make plastics or material like plastics that can break down faster or can be eaten by maybe bacteria or algae. And I think what we need to do is find those alternatives if we continue to be using disposable materials.
Wow, that's very interesting. I think I'm going to get some of those myself. What motivated you to start looking for solutions to reduce plastic?
So I think one of the main images that I saw that really sent me over the edge was I was shown a picture of a beautiful little seahorse, and he was holding on to a plastic Q-tip, and I was so sad to see him swimming with that to me it was just like plastic is so much a part of the ocean environment now that species can't even tell the difference. And after I saw that, I actually then watched a video called Message in the Waves, which talks about plastic around the Hawaiian Islands and the albatross birds that eat them, thinking that they're squids or other floating fish that are right on the surface. And as they dive down to eat them, they actually end up eating the plastic. And a lot of the birds end up dying of starvation because the plastic they can't get out of their stomach, and it fills their stomach, and then they can't get enough nutrients. And so just seeing what our everyday lifestyle and how we've made kind of just such a disposable lifestyle so convenient and we haven't really been thinking of other species, it made me realize how important it is to really think of alternatives to plastics.
Wow, well, you've come from watching on the side to doing much more than that. Do you believe that the government can do more to stop the plastic problem?
I definitely think the government could be doing more.
What do you think that they can do?
Well, I think one of the main things they could do is really listen to the scientists and learn what the issues are, what are some things that the scientists believe they need maybe funding for. Also look at private industries that maybe they could give research funding to that could actually help. A lot of the issues are that our oceans are not controlled by any certain government or any certain nation. And so sometimes they fall under this category of nobody's responsible for them. But really, we get our food from them. They help produce our oxygen. They are a huge carbon sink. It's really important for them to be healthy. And so I think that if we can get the scientists to really be heard, and maybe we could also have them understand that, the lobbying industry behind plastics, they have one side to things, but there's also the other side of things as well. I think if we can get enough people in our government to hear that, I think we could actually have some change that would benefit our oceans and benefit the use of maybe reusable items or compostable items more, and we would see those in our marketplace more.
Well, by your powerful words, I bet you're convincing a lot of government officials to do more. What is your advice for listeners who want to help, and what can they do?
So I think one of the best things that people can do is decide on one way they want to help. And so just make it part of your lifestyle. So let's say you want to cut back on using plastic utensils. Make that your mission and really make it part of something you do every day. Maybe you bring metal silverware from home. Maybe you buy the compostable ones, whatever works, but do that every day and make it your habit. Once something becomes a habit, you don't think twice about it. And then it doesn't even seem like a burden or anything extra. And so the next time you feel like you have another issue you want to take on or something else that you feel passionate about, start again with something small and make it a habit. Do it every day until it just seems like nothing at all. I know that I can sort my trash super fast. I think the first time I did it took me 20 seconds. I'm standing in front of all three of the compost bins, compost, recycling, and trash bins. It took me a few seconds to get it. Now I don't even think about it. I walk up, I drop them all in, and I walk right by. But it's one of those things that as you create habit, you create very, very simple things in your life, and it's not anything you even have to think about anymore. And so I think pick one topic or one issue that you feel passionately about, pick something that you think you can change in your life and do it until you feel good about it, and then pick something else. And every little thing will help. And everybody can't do everything, but everybody can do something. And I think that is my biggest takeaway.
Thank you for joining us today, Miss O. It has been amazing learning from you all these years. You are one of the main reasons that I care so much about the environment. So, to the listeners, let's start picking one thing, such as sorting trash properly or bringing metal utensils and making it a habit. And try to make a difference. This wraps up the first episode of A Change is a Chance. I hope you learned something, and I will see you on the next episode.